Trump addressed a joint session of Congress and claimed that no president has changed government faster than him. Yeah, and nobody changed airport security faster than bin Laden.
Yes, Donald Trump and Osama bin Laden, the Democrat Party, and their propaganda operation, the information dominance of the left. I'm beginning to think that these people don't like us. You know, Americans and normal people. Remember normal. For how long have I been saying remember normal? Many years now. We have the T-shirts and the coffee mugs. Remember normal. It's slipping away from the Democrats, that's for sure. These people are unwell. But you see they're attacking and burning Teslas around the country and attacking Tesla dealerships because they're a hate cult and a violent, destructive hate cult. And they love arson, don't they? They don't love Jesus or America, but arson, they looting. They like arson and looting. Couple of major Democrat Party characteristics in 2025. And a very good Monday to you. Welcome back once again. We continue to be reachable at 888-630-9625. And I should mention, because I was actually out I wasn't here, that is to say, on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Is that right? Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Somebody's got to keep track of this stuff around here. And Wednesday, because I didn't get the Wu. I tested for the Wu, and I tested negative for the Wu, which came from Wuhan, China, where the communists were playing with rodent viruses, bat viruses. And then it got loose and killed 7 million people, including more than 1 million, according to the official statistics in the United States of America. The Democrats don't care about that either. They just don't want you calling it the Wu. That's what really upsets them. 7 million dead, 1 million dead in the United States. That they're not concerned with. But if you call it the Wuhan, then they become very angry. They might self-immolate, as so many of them are fond of doing these days. Michael, how many Democrats have self-immolated so far? And it's like the old Shakespeare and lawyers thing. A good beginning. I kid. I only kid, of course. We've got a great many wild stories because, first of all, I was gone for the majority of the week last week, and that has never happened in all the time that I've been doing radio. I've been doing radio for almost 20 years now, and I've never been out. I don't think I've ever been out sick for a day, much less 3 days. And I don't know where I picked up this Wu-like malady, but I blame the communists, I think, as everyone rightly should. I blame probably the Chinese communists. It's probably not the Putin Russian communists this time, just the Chinese communists, because they're playing with dirty stuff. And you got to be concerned about their food, too. Let's be honest. Everybody knows. So we've got that going. And in the meantime, and enough about me. I don't want to talk about blah, 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 whatever. I'm still feeling a little under the climate today. It's under the weather. Climate, weather, what's the difference? So one of the things I've learned from the Democrats, it's like gender and sex. Gender is not the same thing. Weather and climate, not the same thing. They're really mentally deranged, aren't they? They're not liberals. They're the left. They're terrible people. But we've got a lot going on. President Trump was at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend, and you see the United States Air Force, the Northern Command, they had to put up an F-16 to chase away a random Democrat, presumably flying his airplane into the restricted airspace around Mar-a-Lago. Not the first time, because last week it happened again. Wherever Trump goes, the security threat is, let's just say, highly elevated security threat. Because why? Well, because of Democrats. They're violent and criminally insane because they're not liberals. They're the left. And they've got a lot of gender issues, sex issues, psychological issues, presumably financial issues. They're quite mad. Yeah, but another F-16 had to go up and chase away another airplane invading, in violation of closed airspace, invading the airspace at Mar-a-Lago. and that's because the Democrats have made crazy fashionable. They've made mental illness mainstream. They are not well. They're not well at all. Speaking of which, do we have the guy's name yet? There was a guy shot by the Secret Service at the White House. He came in from Indiana, and I think we don't know his name yet, don't we? We don't know his name because they don't want to give you his name. But they told us right away that he was suffering from mental illness. Well, that makes him a Democrat. Okay, so he's a Democrat. Came in from Indiana. They have some Democrats in Indiana, and he fled, and he came to Washington with a gun, and he had violence on his mind, and the U.S. Secret Service had to shoot him and wound him, which means more target practice, please, more target practice. You know, maybe they're following the Joe Biden edict. They just want shoot him in the leg. Shoot when an unarmed man with a knife attacks you. Remember Joe Biden telling law enforcement everywhere in America that when an unarmed man with a giant knife attacks you?
The idea that instead of standing there and teaching a cop when there's an unarmed person coming at him with a knife or something to shoot him in the leg instead of in the heart.
Yeah, that's all good advice. That when an unarmed man attacks you with a knife, he uses the words, but he doesn't know what they mean. These people are not bright people. But over the weekend, we had another one, and I was talking to Michael Piercy about this morning. And we need to put together a list for the radio studio here of all the crazy Democrats. And we should have a couple of different lists. The self-immolation list, have a list of their names. A couple, we still don't know where that lady in Atlanta at the Israeli consulate in Atlanta who self-immolated there. She was a Democrat. That's really all we know about her. And we still don't know what became of her. The news media dropped it like it was a fender bender in a parking lot at a Home Depot. No big deal. Self-immolation at the Israeli consulate. But we should put together a list of the self-immolating Democrats and the suicide attack Democrats. And there are many of those from Baton Rouge to Dallas to New York to Washington, D.C. and Capitol Hill and multiple Washington, D.C. suicide attacks. And Steve Scalise was shot by a suicide attacker. Where did he come in from again? He came in from someplace in the Midwest, too. And these crazy people, they're all Democrats. Keep in mind that they're all Democrats. Why are they all Democrats? Well, that's a fair question. Maybe, if the Republicans played politics the way that the Democrats played politics, the Republicans might be talking about this stuff every day and wrapping it around the necks of the Democrat Party. Just saying. But the mad violence and James Hodgkinson, who came in from James Hodgkinson, Belleville, Illinois. He came in from Belleville, Illinois. Suicide attack, shot Congressman Steve Scalise. We're supposed to hopefully find out more this week about the Democrat that shot Donald Trump through the ear in Butler, Pennsylvania. And we really never learned much about that guy, did we? Our government, it turns out they can keep secrets, even from the Washington Post, even though they're sleeping together. Remarkable stuff. But we should put together a list of the crazed, gun-toting Democrats that attack and shoot at or shoot Republicans, from Donald Trump to Steve Scalise to police officers across the country, because the Democrats turned against the police long ago because the Democrats represent crime and disorder, and the police represent law and order, of course, and the Democrats are against that. But we need to put some lists on the wall. I don't know if we've got enough wall space in here for all the lists we'd want to put together of the crazy, violent Democrats, criminally insane Democrats. But we got another one, and Secret Service shoots man in overnight armed confrontation. That's in quotation marks, armed confrontation, near White House. The shooting took place after police were notified about a suicidal man in the area. Well, if you were a Democrat, it'd certainly be on your short list. Things to think about, no doubt. So the Secret Service shot a man during an armed confrontation near the White House Sunday. That's yesterday. Sunday. And smoking US 30 drag strip. And Joe Biden said, if an unarmed man attacks you with a knife, which makes him no longer an unarmed man, you should shoot him in the leg. So maybe that's what they did. I don't know. But so Secret Service shot a man during an armed confrontation near the White House Sunday. The agency announced the incident unfolded just after midnight, about a block west of the White House, near the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. Now, that is inside the White House fence line. It's part of the White House complex, the square block that includes the Treasury Department, the White House in the middle, and then the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. Used to be the old Executive Office Building after they built the new Executive Office Building. And before that, as you might imagine, it was just called the Executive Office Building, the EOB, then the OEOB, now the EOB, because, we love to abbreviate everything. So we had that. Police sources identified the suspect as 27-year-old Andrew Dawson. That's an update that we have the name Andrew Dawson of Indiana. Indiana. Agent said he was armed with a firearm and a knife. He's got both, so that would confuse Joe Biden and his instructions there. When he was confronted by agents investigating an earlier alert, there was an earlier alert. That's because they saw his vehicle there, and they were on the lookout for his vehicle. Bolo, all that stuff. Be on the lookout. Got a bolo going. Indiana police notified D.C. authorities that Dawson was driving to the Washington, D.C. area and that he was suicidal. Intelligence bulletins also indicated that the suspect wanted to commit, quote, suicide by cop. I think most Democrats do in 2025. It's odd, but there it is. Members of the Secret Service encountered the man's parked car near 17th and F, like Frank Street Northwest, just on the other side of the Executive Office Building, and saw the person matching his description nearby. Sure, you might think so. They told him to drop the weapon. Hey, drop the weapon, they said. That's old-fashioned stuff. But he did not comply. That's always problematic. It really is. Is there a racial issue here? Because you know how the Democrats love racial issues. Party of the plantation and all that good stuff. That's when Secret Service says Dawson reached toward his waist. Reach, buddy. So they opened fire because that's what you do. Now, the officers approached the individual, brandished a firearm, and an armed confrontation ensued, during which shots were fired by our personnel, the agency wrote in a statement. Suspect was rushed to an area hospital. His condition is unknown. It's unknown. It's a shot, but still alive. That's his condition. And that's ouch, because that's no good. Metropolitan Police Department, D.C. Police, will lead the investigation into the shooting, since they're the primary agency responsible for use of force incidents within the District of Columbia, Secret Service said. And they get a lot of experience with. They're very experienced, the D.C. Police, because there are a lot of Democrats here, and you know how they love to shoot people. They do it all the time. They love shootings. Yes, sir. President Donald Trump was not in the White House at the time, per his schedule. He was in Mar-a-Lago over the weekend. The president is expected to leave his Mar-a-Lago later today. This was from yesterday's story in the Fox News people, and return to the capital, not the Capitol, the capital. That's the capital city of Washington, D.C. So we got that going for us. That's good. And President Trump, he was a lot of fun. He was on Air Force One last night coming back into D.C., and he talked to the press. There was kind of a funny moment with, I guess it was a Washington Post reporter that asked an idiotic question aboard Air Force One, and Trump made fun of him a little bit and then just dismissed his phony question because he was rolling a grenade down the hall, down the aisle of Air Force One, trying to pick a fight. That's what the Washington Post does. They're not a newspaper. They're leftists. It's kind of a blog. It's a pre-blog blog. That whole thing is. Yeah, so we got lots of stuff. And so we got the crazed gunman from Indiana shot at the White House by the Secret Service. Air Force intercepts aircraft in restricted zone near Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Not the first time, even in the last week. Wah. We got a lot of so how many of these people, and you'd think the Democrat Party would have a reputation when it comes to this stuff by now, but our news media is so incredibly corrupt that there's no reputation. They're not Nazis. They're not fascists. They're not communists. They're not gang of crazed killers. I've been saying for years, if you're a registered Democrat, you shouldn't be allowed to own a firearm or marry under normal circumstances or procreate. Should have gone to the DNC to get a vasectomy, you know. They were giving out free abortions, too. They love those, don't they? Wah. J.D. Vance being stalked by crazy left-wing people. And the Democrats, they love Ukrainians more than they love Americans. Of course, they don't like Americans very much, do they? All that and a whole lot more coming up. 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Oh, hey, we're back. Hey, now. Yeah, the Democrat Party, they're not very democratic, I've got to say. How many violently, criminally insane Democrats are there in America? Just in millions. You don't have to name the, 6,296,000, maybe 22 million, something like that. Crazy. Yeah, burning Tesla dealerships, burning Tesla cars. I told you the story more than a week ago now, probably 2 weeks ago. In D.C., a local TV station had a story on the local Tesla owners that live in fear of being attacked when they're driving, and they live in fear that any place they leave their car, it will be vandalized. And the Democrats are spray painting Teslas across the country with words like Nazi, things like that. They don't know what the words mean, but they love to behave like that. They're kind of funny people. And I don't mean funny like comedians, like stand-up comedy. I mean funny like that weird smell that you may notice in a back alley somewhere. Speaking of Democrats, crazy Democrat story here. A boy, 10 years old, a 10-year-old boy. Here's a picture of him. Looks like a cute, smart little kid. There he is. Crushed to death when 340-pound foster mom sits on him. What? She sat on him? Because he was, quote, acting up. He was acting up. So this whole foster mother thing is more complicated than I originally thought. Jennifer Wilson told police young Dakota Stevens had fled from her home that morning, and he was misbehaving after she retrieved him from a neighbor's house. Probably should have stayed at the neighbor's house. 91-pound boy. I've got the rest of that story coming. This is a wild story. I think maybe the foster system the whole system needs to be called into question. Because isn't that what we do with everything now? To say that the Democratic Party is not what it used to be would be what you might call generous understatement. They are very unwell in a great many ways. They're the left. They're not liberals. That makes all the difference in the world. Dog is their co-pilot. They have after-school Satan Club for children, and they'll drag you all the way to the Supreme Court if you're a high school football coach that wants to say a quick prayer after a football game to try to stop you, of course, because they're anti-God, pro-Satan. That's sort of weird. They don't know how many genders there are, including a member of the Supreme Court. Ketanji Brown Jackson still doesn't know. I guess nobody's asked her, hey, did you find out what a woman is in the meantime? Hey, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. What do you call somebody named Ketanji Brown Jackson? You call her Justice Brown Jackson? What do you, because that's a lot of syllables. I don't know why we'd do that. Pretty crazy. And we've played before, like Rosemary's Baby, you know, the crazy old movie Rosemary's Baby, where they're worshiping Satan and giving birth to the Satan child and all the crazy stuff in that movie. A great apartment building, though, the Dakota in New York. You know, that's the most fun part of that movie. and they're really unwell, aren't they? And with that, I've got someone I'd like to talk to, calling from Topeka, Kansas, with a story of his own. Greg, calling from Topeka, Kansas. Greg, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
How you doing?
I'm great, Gregory. What do you say? What do you know?
Well, you're talking about Satan worship and stuff like that after school, Satan worship?
Yeah.
Our lovely governor here in Kansas is allowing a black mass to be held on the Capitol grounds here in Topeka.
Does that no a black mass? What is the purpose of a black mass?
It's a Satan worship session.
A Satan worship. It's not a racial thing. It's a Satan thing.
Yeah, on the grounds of the Capitol building.
Yeah, it's not a black church. It's a black mass. That's totally different. That's Rosemary's Baby. That's Satan worship, like their after-school Satan club. And I'm gonna guess. I don't know these people, Greg, but I'm gonna guess that they're Democrats.
Yeah, Topeka's kind of gone blue. It was kind of bad.
Man, oh man! I tell you, I found from KCTV the story that a petition has been begun to stop the black mass. Petition against black mass. But this is the Democrat Party today, isn't it? And they are they are just not normal people. They're not well adjusted. They're not normal.
They don't know why they're having a black mass, but they're going to have one.
Well, the Topeka, Kansas is the dateline at KCTV. A group of Catholic students has formed a petition with more than 22,000 signatures asking Kansas Governor Laura Kelly, how'd you get a Democrat governor in Kansas? How'd that happen? To cancel a black mass scheduled to take place at the end of the month. Got to give them plenty of time to organize, An organization for Satanists called the Satanic Grotto has organized a black mass to be held at the Topeka Capitol building on March 28th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Are they going to sacrifice any babies?
Who knows?
Yeah. It's not really a proper black mass if you don't sacrifice some humans. But that's
probably have some little defenseless animals like a rabbit or a cat or something like that,
I certainly hope so. It'd be a waste if they didn't snuff out any life at all, as they're so fond of doing. The American Society for the Defense of Tradition, Family, and Property, they have a vice president, John Horvat, a native of Kansas, stated that he was appalled by the heinous blasphemy. I think he's right about that, isn't he? That seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? Said This is not just an offense against God, but an attack on the very moral fabric of our state and nation. I urge all God-fearing Americans to take a stand, join us in peaceful protest, sign the petition, and offer prayers of reparation. Sounds like a good idea. Now is the time to deepen our faith and reject this public affront to God. But this is entirely the Democrat Party, and some of them think it's funny and think it's cute, but most of them really are just bloodthirsty goblins from hell. That's why we call them the Democrat Party. The Black Mass is a satanic rite mocking the Catholic Mass, often including the desecration of a Eucharist host. The main photo on the social media event reads, Black Mass at the Capitol, an expression of a blasphemy and a dedication to Satan. This is your Democrat Party. Now, the satanic group at the center of the planned event said, join us at the Topeka Capitol building in Kansas as we dedicate the grounds and our legislature to the future glory of Satan. These people are really need to bring out the fire hoses, bring out the, I think in California they have those planes that they fly over fires and drop the flame retardants. Yeah. I think they should drop flame retardant from planes on these people because, what better to snuff out their insanity than a retardant, I think would be the appropriate thing, don't you think? That's the thing.
Last time they had a peaceful protest in Topeka, in downtown Topeka, the police had to deploy tear gas and stuff like that to get the people to go away.
The same people? The same Satan people?
It was just a protest about something that offended them,
Yeah. Yeah, we will be performing rites to the Black Mass and indulging in sacrilegious blasphemy. God will fall, and Kansas will be embraced by the black flame of Lucifer. The black flame of Lucifer. That reminds me of Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, which he dedicated to Lucifer. And Barack Obama, a huge Alinskyite, and Hillary Clinton actually served under, if you will, Saul Alinsky himself, worked for Saul Alinsky, interned with Saul Alinsky, and she's a huge Alinskyite. And Saul Alinsky dedicated his book, Rules for Radicals, to Satan, because the Democrat Party is not a Democratic Party at all. Quite amazing stuff. Now, the Kansas Catholic Conference, the official voice of the Catholic Church in Kansas on matters of public policy, stated that the bishop in the Sunflower State, you live in the Sunflower State, have asked their faithful to pray for the conversion of those taking part in the event. Again, I think airplanes from California loaded, heavily laden with flame retardant, because it seems like the appropriate, I hope it's red and sticky and gooey, like you see being dropped over to California. Man, oh, Manischewitz, I'm telling you. And Chuck Weber, the Catholic Conference, said, if true, all this stuff they're saying, this explicit demonstration of anti-Catholic bigotry, Democrats love bigotry. They're the party of bigotry. They always have been. They're the party of the bullwhip and the lynching tree and the plantation and the Confederate States of America. They're not the good guys. Boy, are they not the good guys. But there they are. So the explicit demonstration of this anti-Catholic bigotry will be an insult not only to Catholics but to all people of goodwill, said Chuck Weber, and he's 100% correct. Spiritual and legal responses are being explored. Spiritual first, legal second. This is today's Democrat Party, and there's something terribly, terribly wrong with them, isn't there?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit. Greg, I'm really glad that you drew my attention to this, because this is good Democrat Party stuff. It's every day is a report card on the Democrat Party, such as they are, and they do remind me of that crazy movie Rosemary's Baby, where they're celebrating the birth of their little Christ child after they raped the woman. And it's that the Democrats are quite out of their minds today. Yes, they are.
God is dead. Satan lives. The year is one. The year is one, and God is dead.
Yes. You're a Democrat Party. Aren't they wonderful? Greg, thank you very much for the call. I hope you have a wonderful Topeka, Kansas day, surrounded by wonderful Topeka, Kansas people.
Yes. No, I don't have any friends going to the Mass, no.
You don't have any friends that are planning on going to the Mass?
No.
Yeah, I figured that was probably the case. That's great. Greg, wonderful call. Thanks for that. That's wild. It's wild, man. I'm telling you. Yes, sir. That's Greg from Topeka, Kansas, where normal people are under assault by people that call themselves Democrats, and they vote Democrat because they know the path to Satan, and they literally, now some people are still unaware of this, they literally have after-school Satan clubs for kids. The Democrats have set them up across the country. They are not on our side. Yeah, I did mention, I didn't finish the story, the boy, 10 years old, crushed to death when his 340-pound foster mother, she wanted to be a foster mom. Hey, I just love kids so much. Sits on him because he was acting up. Now, the 10-year-old Michigan boy, it's the Midwest again. Got to look out for this stuff. Died after his obese foster mom sat on him for 5 minutes for acting up, crushing him under her 340-pound frame. Sure, what's wrong with that? Jennifer Wilson told police that young Dakota Stevens, see a foster, different last name and all that stuff, had fled from her home that morning. Gee, I wonder why. And that he was misbehaving after she retrieved him from a neighbor's house. I guess the neighbor should have locked him inside or something. Wilson said the 91-pound boy threw himself on the front lawn outside of her home, at which point she sat on him while calling his caseworker. He's got a caseworker. As he screamed, naturally, and evidently stopped moving, according to court documents reviewed by the Express U.S. The Washington Post doesn't have the story. CNN doesn't have the story. She told the cops she thought the boy was faking being hurt until she noticed his eyelids had gone pale. That's an early sign, I guess. His eyelids had gone pale. Then she rolled over him, and she rolled over him, because that's the thing. A court affidavit described the foster mom as appearing visibly distraught. Well, that's good to hear. I'm happy to hear that. When police arrived, find Dakota motionless without a pulse. That's another clue. See, if you're going to be a foster mom, take a couple of notes now. Grab a Post-it note and a pen, because when the eyelids roll back and go pale, and when he stops breathing, that's when foster mom is supposed to jump in and do the right thing there. He was airlifted, thanks to the patriarchy and helicopters, to a nearby hospital, but there was nothing doctors could do. Child was taken off of life support 2 days later, just a month after he'd been placed in the home with Wilson. Just a month after. He had a month, that's there's a picture of her. Yeah, she looks about like you'd expect. That's because, here it is, pretty amazing stuff. Another remarkable story, having a less gruesome, I think, less grim, but maybe a little bit grim, but potentially even more, really. The Fox News people have the story. Biden's auto pen signature. You know what an auto pen is? It's a machine. You can slip a piece of paper into the machine, and it's got a fake pen that can sign your name. It's an auto pen, right? Biden's auto pen signature appears on most official documents, raising concerns over who controlled the White House. That's kind of interesting. The Speaker of the entire House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, shared earlier this year that then President Biden didn't remember signing an executive order that he was talking to him about, the Speaker of the House talking to the President of the United States. Hey, you signed this executive order? Huh? What? I did? What? Hello, boys. Where are you? I missed you last night.
Here we go. Amend title. Well, I'm not going to read it all. I'll just sign it.
Sure, I'll just sign it. Yeah. The majority, that is the 50% plus one. The majority of official documents signed by President Joe Biden allegedly used the same auto pen signature, reinvigorating concerns. I like reinvigorating concerns over the former president's mental acuity, and raised questions whether he actually ordered the signature of relevant legal documents. A report published by an arm of the Heritage Foundation found. See, the problem is that if everything is signed by auto signature, he didn't sign them himself. So was he even involved? Or did left-wing radicals, bureaucrats, unelected, like Elon Musk, all these unelected hacks in the Biden White House, did they just line up the left-wing wish list and have the auto pen sign everything for them? So the Oversight Project initiative of the Heritage Foundation writes, whoever controlled the auto pen controlled the presidency. We gathered every document we could find with Biden's signature over the course of his entire presidency. All used the same auto pen signature, except for the announcement that the former president was dropping out of the race last year. Wow. Then they posted, here is the auto pen signature. Isn't that amazing? So auto pen signatures are ones that are automatically produced by a machine as opposed to an authentic handwritten signature. So the Heritage Foundation, not the New York Times or ABC fake news with George, the Democrat White House official, Stephanopoulos, or none of them are doing the job that journalists might do. But the Heritage Foundation took a look at the signatures, and somebody noticed, hey, wait a minute, how can all of these signatures be identical? It's as if they all came from the White House auto pen. And they found that Joe Biden really didn't sign anything except maybe his "I'm not running for president again." So who was president of the United States for 4 years during what we laughingly call the Biden administration? If he didn't pay enough attention to actually sign laws, we see President Trump signing every executive order. He does it on camera, most transparent administration in history. Joe Biden, the auto pen White House, the auto pen administration, not in business to lead the country or the free world. And if other people were behind this, did they commit a great series of felonies by faking the president's signature and passing laws that the president never approved? We're going to need more prisons. Apparently, Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, D.C. is going to go away. How many African Americans have been murdered in Washington since the Democrats painted Black Lives Matter Plaza on 16th Street in front of the White House? Womp, womp, womp. And I'm keeping track of that. Multiple reports that is going to happen. It's a sham of a farce of a charade. The Democrats, amazing stuff. All right, let's grab a quick phone call. Let's go to Jay calling from Middleburg, Virginia. Beautiful Middleburg. Jay, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Chris, good morning. Welcome back. I'm glad you're feeling better. I love your show.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to make a comment about the auto pen. Many years ago, I was an intern on Capitol Hill. I thought everybody knew about the auto pen machine. It's quite an interesting, simple little contraption. But the congressman that I was interning for had so much correspondence that there was no way he could sign every document. So in a nutshell, every office has an auto pen. Most of the letters that constituents get are signed in ink by the auto pen. It's not meant to. I hope I'm not breaking anybody's bubble on whether somebody cares or not. They do, but there's just no way to keep up with the quantity of correspondence in any office. And then every office does it differently. Typically, we would photocopy.
Well, I got to say, the president is supposed to sign laws and executive orders himself, so that makes this different.